Hello everyone, this is Erik, the Asian movie enthusiast, and this is my review of Oasis, a South Korean romance from 2002 that was a huge critical success and is considered by some to be one of the better Korean films ever made. The film's plot tells about the difficult romance between a mildly mentally disabled man who has just been released from jail after a 2.5-year sentence and a woman with severe cerebral palsy. So yes, you've heard that correctly, this is not your typical romance film. Upon his release from prison, Chang-dong, played by Kyung-gu, goes looking for his relatives in Seoul. Now he quickly discovers that during his absence, his family has moved without telling him. Oblivious to society's rules, this man again ends up in police custody for non-payment of a restaurant bill. He's bailed out by his younger brother and reunited with his estranged family, who reluctantly take him back in. Now, slightly mentally disabled and an incurable social misfit, Chang-dong is hired as a delivery boy for a neighborhood Chinese restaurant on the recommendation of his brother. And that's where he soon meets a cerebral palsy-stricken woman named Kyung-gu, played by Moon, who has been left behind to be cared for by her neighbors because her brother uses her disability pension to supplement his own lifestyle. So these two abandoned souls then strike up a romantic relationship. Now, one of the things you'll notice when watching Oasis is that this is a highly unconventional romance that shows this relationship in a very realistic, matter-of-fact way. It feels genuine and authentic, which means that the viewer will realize that our protagonists develop a certain sense of normalcy in their interaction as the film progresses. It's a genuine romantic relationship that most people are unfamiliar with in real life, given the conditions of these characters. And that relatability is important because this film uses that to build a strong dramatic edge to it. Now, our protagonists are treated basically like garbage by the other characters throughout the film. It's actually a bit uncomfortable to watch at times because this movie exposes us to prejudices and shows how people react out of ignorance towards others. So, for example, there's a lengthy section where our new lovebirds are simply trying to be seated at some restaurants, but people just keep turning them away. You know, they don't like the sight of that in their restaurant. You know what I'm saying? They don't want somebody with cerebral palsy in there because they might, disrupt the other customers. That's the impression I got. And even in cases where these side characters think they're doing the right thing for these characters, they inadvertently treat our protagonists like subhumans, almost in an indirect way. And I don't want to explain that because it might be a little spoilery, but you'll notice that, especially during the second half of the film. And those represent some of the more interesting moments. Oasis certainly has a lot of social commentary power to it, and as I said, the moments I think later on in the film that are maybe a little bit more multi-layered are the most interesting parts. Now, from what I've said, you may be thinking that this is a complete downer of a film, but it isn't. It isn't. There's actually quite a bit of joy to behold in this. The leads spend a lot of time together and have some very charming moments, actually. Some of my favorite scenes are the imaginary ones. Kind of hard to explain what they are exactly, but you'll know what I mean when you've seen this. That helps to balance the film out and give these people some color. Now, the director here is Chang-dong, who has directed some other impressive films like Peppermint Candy, Secret Sunshine, and Poetry, all of which are worth watching, and are all very highly acclaimed, actually. I'm not a fan of his first film, Green Fish, but I haven't seen it in ages and barely remember it. So it's one of those films that might grow on me if I ever get to watch it again. He's one of those impressive directors who flies under the radar for most international film fans. Definitely worth checking this guy out if you haven't already. Now, I previously mentioned that Kyung-gu is the lead actor. He's made quite a career for himself, recently starring in films like Hope, Cold Eyes, and No Mercy. The lead actress, though, Moon, doesn't get enough lead roles, in my opinion. She's appeared in a bunch of films and television series, but she usually plays a side character or gets an extended cameo. That really makes no sense because her performance in Oasis blew a lot of people away, and she got some awards for it. The most recent film I've seen that uses her in like a lead role, or at least a co-lead role, was Venus Talk from 2014, which is a good movie that I would recommend. But in conclusion, if you really want a thorough understanding of the Korean cinema new wave of the early 2000s, Oasis is kind of a must-watch, even if you don't think it's up your alley. A very highly acclaimed film that's revered by many fans of Korean film. It did not make my top 20 of the 2000s when I did that video with Pieces of Work, an Asian filmist, but it's certainly worthy of inclusion, and I can guarantee you that it would make a lot of people's top lists. So definitely check this one out. And fortunately, it is widely available on DVD in the United States. So as always, I will see you next time.